Record.
Thank you so much. All right, so welcome everyone to the Using the DRDP 2015 webinar event. My name is Kristen Brooks, Executive Director with the Riverside County Office of Education and Supporting Inclusive Practices Project, and we are so happy that you joined us today. We have a very packed and engaging webinar with the amazing team from DR Access Project. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to them. Just a reminder that you can engage in this webinar using the chat box. The Q&A feature will be disabled, but we will be monitoring the chat box throughout, and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Kristen. This is Patty Salcido. I'm one of the co-directors of the Desired Results Access Project. Thank you so much, Kristen. We've been described as an event. That's a first for us. Events are always fun, so I hope we'll have a fun hour together. I'll let my co-presenters introduce themselves.
I'm Debbie Duplantis, and I'm the training coordinator with the project, and I'm really excited that you all are joining us today. And my name is Elizabeth Schroeder. I'm the Director of Research on the project, and I'm also excited to be here with you this afternoon.
We know that we're a big group and we won't be able to hear everyone's voices, so we really encourage you to use the chat. I know that Kristen and her team are monitoring the chat and Debbie's monitoring the chat, so we can get to all your questions. We would really like to know a little bit more about who's with us today, because we're going to guide our agenda according to who you are and what you would like to hear to be most responsive. So we have a poll coming up about your position in your school district or LEA. So take a minute and fill out your role. Everybody in?
75 attendees.
Okay, looks like we have many special ed teachers and service providers, administrators, and a few others. If you're an other, you can type in the chat who you are. We'd love to know. All right, I think we have one more question, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
One more question before we start talking at you. We had 3 topics we thought to address today. So if you could let us know which is your priority. We'll start there. We might be able to get to all 3. These were suggested to us as things you might want to know. So go ahead and fill out this poll and let us know what you'd like us to do first. While we're doing that, I want to welcome our school psychologists and program specialists. Wonderful, wonderful. QRIS coaches, fabulous.
That's going to put it up. So I don't know if the poll is not up. Do we have a poll available to pop up for this one? There it is. There. Oh, that's the first one.
Should be a poll number 2. There we go. No, that's poll number 1. There we go.
There it is.
Yay. Yay. Wonderful. Thank you all for filling this out. All right, it looks like using the DRDP assessment is the greatest priority, and not by much, so we will do that in reports, and then if time permits, we will do submitting DRDP data. It's quick and easy. So we say fun and easy. All right. Okay, Elizabeth, got my,
Yep, just turning the...
all right, using
There
the
we go.
DRDP assessment. I'm assuming, because you're all special educators, that you are using the assessment. So this is just going to be a quick overview. We thought we might have some general ed folks here too. So we hope that you're getting some benefit out of this. We hope that you're using it to make instructional decisions. A few things will be listed. We want you to know that the DRDP was developed collaboratively, and we really are hoping that you are using it collaboratively. When we think of a framework, we think of different elements, and one important element in the DRDP framework for collaboration is families. So families have good information, so that we hope that they can help identify for you what you might not be seeing in the classroom. We like to say that as practitioners, we get a snapshot of the child, but families get the full-length movie. It is recommended practices to have conversations with family, and we know that family observations are reliable and valid. We have a resource about this on our website, so check it out. And we hope that you will talk with families and incorporate their observations when you can.
Patty, real quick, folks able to see your slides, can you make sure that you are screen sharing?
Uh-oh. Yes.
Thanks so much.
We can see. I could see before.
Can you see now?
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Cool. All right. We want you to see Tyler because he's very cute, and his mom. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Okay. All right. Educators are another component of our framework, and that's all of us together. Educators, our early educators see children regularly, and they know a lot about what they can do, and they know a lot about child development, typical child development and the progressions. We as special educators are trained to adapt and individualize curriculum and materials, and we are taught to provide specialized instruction, which some children in the classroom will need. So you put us together as a team, and we're dynamite. We really can meet all children's needs because we have folks that know development, folks that know how to individualize, folks that know how to present curriculum. So we were all together. A while back, we presented with a co-teaching team that uses the DRDP collaboratively in Santa Clara County. And here are some of the things that they do together. One of the things that I really like that they do is that each staff, that includes the teacher and the paraeducators, anyone else in the classroom, can enter observational data into the app that they're using, which in this case is Learning Genie. So everybody has access to that. Everybody's taking observations and everybody can put them in. So when you're ready to go rate, you have very rich information from a lot of perspectives. Then they go further. Both Betty and Tu will create their lesson plans together weekly. They will individualize instruction weekly. So both general ed and special ed know what has to happen for a child. They use the DRDP to modify classroom activities and design individual goals. And they even sit down together to write those goals and align them.
Patty, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We still have folks who can't see your screen. Kel, maybe you can assist on your end. If you also scroll up in your chat, and I'll put the link in again, there is a link to a box drive that has these slides in it as well if you're having difficulties on your end. So I will add that.
Great, thank you, Kristen.
You'll also notice too that you have different view options. You can view full screen. That's probably most ideal to be able to view the PowerPoint full screen. So if you have any issues, just just keep us keep me informed, and we can troubleshoot it together.
All right. Thank you, Kristen. Please let me know if people are still having difficulties. We'll be sharing the reports in a little bit and how to get them. And I think that's how Betty and Tu are able to sit down, look at reports for a child, look at the results of the DRDP and say, here's where we need to focus, here's where we need to beef up our curriculum, here's where we need to individualize for this child, here's where we need to do some short-term individualization, here's where we might think about an IEP goal. And then they track progress together and meet twice a month to discuss children's progress. Now, I'm hoping you can all see our screen by now. What we've listed here is a resource on our website, which is draccess.org. It's entitled Leading Focus Conversations with Families to Help Complete the DRDP 2015. We know everybody is super busy, and it's hard to sit down and come up with questions to ask families to get what you need for the DRDP. So we have a worksheet, we have this video, we have a handout, we have the tools that you need so that you can craft some questions that will hopefully get to what you need to know in the short time you might have for a conversation with families. So if you can see the screen, the web address is there, and if you go to draccess.org, you can find it pretty easily. It didn't look like we had many general educators on the webinar today, but there is an app on the Desired Results for Children and Families website, which is down at the bottom of your screen, where you can get a portfolio app. It's another place where all teachers, including special educators, can enter observation notes and help build a portfolio. And this is nice, as are the other apps like Learning Genie, because maybe you don't have time to do much consultation in the classroom. If you're a speech therapist, you might have a lot of rich information on communication you could share with your general ed partners by going to an app and entering it. So this new technological age, I think, is enabling us to do a little bit better collaboration and collaborate more often. Hey. If you'd like, as we go on, if you collaborate on the DRDP, we'd love you just to write into the chat some of the strategies you're using for collaboration.
Okay. Are there any questions about the general questions about the DRDP, using the DRDP, collaborating to use the DRDP?
Showed you the slides on collaboration.
Yes.
Yes.
So next we were going to move on to the kind of second topic. We'll just give you a minute to type any questions you have.
So we have one right now, Elizabeth. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, but it says that our SLPs struggle to complete the DRDP for those preschoolers who do not attend school.
Yes, I agree. And you have our sympathy and empathy. It is very, very difficult. First of all of us on this call, let's give a shout out to SLPs who are working incredibly hard to serve children, and especially our young children. And then on top of that, we say, do the DRDP, and we want you to make observations. So we know it's really, really hard. We've actually been meeting with some administrators and some SLPs to see if we can poke at the issue a little bit and come up with anything that might be helpful. So if we do, we will definitely be letting you know. We thank you for hanging in there this long on the DRDP and trying to get it done. We encourage you to just do the best you can, and that know that we on this end understand how difficult it is in the bind that you're in.
We have another.
When is the first?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. When is the first DRDP due?
First DRDP due, you should check with your SELPA directors. They should be putting out either directly to you or through your program administrators when they want the data. Generally, programs are getting it back in November, December but it really varies by local date. So check locally with your administrators to find out when they want that in. I think many programs will check to make sure that everybody's submitted, so they need a little bit of time before it gets submitted for reporting up the ladder. Any other questions right now? Okay.
Okay. I see some other questions. For new teachers, can you give an example of how to take ongoing data for the DRDP?
Oh, that's a great question, and we were just talking about that this morning, so wonderful question. Some teachers will set up a binder. Some do a binder for each child. So for some, that's cumbersome. Some will do a page in a binder for each child and have sticky notes, and they can jot down a note and then stick it in the child's binder. You might have a page for each domain of the DRDP, so one for language and literacy, one for motor, PD health. Organize it that way, but you can organize it any way that is useful to you. Some people keep clipboards around the classroom, and that way when they're in that center or in that area of the classroom, they can jot down a note. Some people will take video. They'll pick a week and get some coverage with their instructional assistants in an hour or a half an hour or 15 minutes or wherever you can spare some time. Video a group of children, and then you can go back at your leisure and look at that and make some notes and record those. Then you'd have to have some good desktop and hard drive organizational skills to keep those videos filed, but that helps many people. You can get video or photos from families. You can have instructional assistants do some observation, train them to do that, and help them document. What else? You can keep some documentation on your computer if you'd like. Most people I see wear an apron or smock and keep some note paper or post-it notes in their pocket, or use the clipboards around the classroom.
We've got another question. Okay. Is the following mandatory training still required for this year? New in 2019-2020, using DRDP 2015 reports for special education.
I am really glad you asked that question, because we didn't put out that message. Somehow that message got to you erroneously, and I'm glad we have a large group here to clarify. Using the DRDP for special education was last year's course that was required. If you took it, you do not need to take it again. If you are a new teacher, you do need to take it this fall. We will have another course coming out at some point, but not this fall. Using, oh, I see, the reports. Mm-hmm. That has been postponed. We're going to add some new features to the report system, so rather than train you on an old system that you won't have to use, we're hoping everything will be in place to train you on it in the spring. So if you took course 1, you get a breather for the fall. And in the spring, when you have lots of DRDP data entered in, we're going to ask you to go through the reports course and get reports.
What if a teacher did not pass the test last year? Will they have access to take it again?
Okay, let's think of it not as a test, but as we want you to demonstrate your rating skills. If you took the preschool demonstration of rating skills and didn't successfully complete it, you can go back in and take the infant toddler and vice versa. They're toddlers, they're not young infants. You should be able to do it quite easily. So if you took the infant toddler and didn't pass it, you can go back in and take the preschool. We will be cycling through more demonstrations of rating skills in subsequent years, so you have other opportunities to take it again. So all we do, if you didn't pass, we let your SELPA director know, and we hope that you'll keep practicing, that maybe you could connect with an experienced assessor if you needed any pointers on the DRDP or any part of the process.
Great. It sounds like Kale, our support person, is double checking who can see the slides.
Great.
So folks are just responding in the chat box whether they can see the slides or not. So that's very helpful. And as Kristen also mentioned earlier, you can absolutely download the slides. Also, she posted the link to where you can pull that information down. Okay, these are fantastic questions. Please keep them coming. I think we will transition into producing and using DRDP reports. But again, any questions are welcome, even if it was on a previously discussed topic, that is fine. Okay, so hopefully you're now seeing a slide that says producing and using DRDP reports. And we're going to transition to talking about that. Based on our survey at the beginning of the call, we have a predominance of special education providers, but we did want to also share information for anyone who's on the phone who is on the gen ed side of things. One sec, I've seen a question. Does DRDP keep record of staff that took the test last year or took the online training last year?
Yes, we do. We have a record. If you have any questions, you can always contact us. We would encourage you to do that, and our contact information will be in the PowerPoint handout.
Will I receive information about the fall special education training?
Well, if you didn't take course 1, we put out an announcement. You should still do that. The reports course will be postponed till this spring, and yes, you will be notified when that occurs.
Where is the record? Can we find it on the site?
No, it's not a public record. We keep that confidential. So if you have any questions about your record, you can call us or email us, and we'll let you know about your status. And you can talk to your administrator if he's yourself a director did get the same report. So they should have a record that you took the course.
And if you're wondering about just yourself personally, you can always go log into your account on our Learning Center at draccesslearn.org, which you can get through our main website at draccess.org. And then you'll see if you pass that first course and can download your certificate again if needed. Okay, great questions. Okay. So we've talked a lot about using the DRDP, using the assessment. What we want to transition to talking a little bit about is the utility of those results, those ratings. What are the tools that you can use to use those ratings to plan for children? And so there are 2 online systems that are used in the field to generate reports. As I mentioned a minute ago, I'm showing you the DRDP online website, which is the Gen Ed website. So that is not for special education, but for general education. And that's the image I'm showing you on the screen. And I also wanted to just differentiate the 2 reporting systems for you so that we're sort of clear. So for ELCD teachers who are completing the DRDP for children in their programs, they would be completing the data and then uploading it to DRDP online in order to produce reports and PDFs of those rating records. For those of you that are special education providers, you would be completing your DRDP assessments, and you would be uploading that data or entering that data into DR Access reports in order to generate reports. We are not talking specifically about the submitting data process, but if you have questions, we welcome those. But I'm going to show you a little bit deeper into DR Access reports, the system that supports special education providers to produce reports based on their assessment results on the DRDP 2015. This system is free. It's open to any special education provider that would like to use it. All you need to do is go to draccessreports.org and set up your free account and enter data into the system. So what can you do at DR Access Reports? So some local education areas or agencies enter their data directly into DR Access Reports. They actually use it as a data management tool, online tool. Some folks manage their data more locally on another software system. Some of you may be using SACE. I see Maria has a question. When we upload in SACE, does that automatically upload to DRDP Access Reports? Great question. So for those of you that are actually SACE users on the call, we have an import process with SACE where you simply download your records from SACE and upload them into DR Access reports. So it is a two-step process. We are working to automate that process, and hopefully that'll be out soon. But right now, it's just a two-step process. We have a wonderful video right on DR Access reports that shows you how to do that. In fact, it shows you exactly how to do it with SACE. Once you have your data loaded into our system, either manually or via an import file, then you can produce reports. We're going to show you a few of the reports today that are available. You can use those reports to identify domains and as well as measures that are areas of strength and areas that may need additional support. So let's take a look at some of the reports that are available, and I'll also try to mention where the reports are also available in DRDP online, because for those of you serving children who are dually enrolled in an inclusive setting, you would want to hopefully be collaborating not only on the assessment, but also looking at the reports.
We have another question, Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
A provider is an education and special needs manager for Early Head Start and Head Start and wants to know if the information is still applicable.
In the reports? Yes.
Absolutely. So that's where I'll try to point out to you where the reports are similar and are available to you as well through DRDP online. Okay, so the child report. The child report is a one-page domain-level report. So it shows you where the child is doing well in overall broad areas. So you can take a look at each of the domain ratings for that child across each one of the domains. And you can identify broad areas where this particular child is doing well, or areas where you might want to look a little deeper in the next report we're going to talk about. This report is available in both DR Access reports for special education providers, as well as in DRDP online for general education providers. So that speaks directly to you, Elizabeth, who asked that question. The second version of the child report is called the Child Progress Report, and it is a very similar report. It's a domain level report, but now you can look at those results for more than one assessment period. So the version that you're looking at on the screen includes 2 assessments. So you can take a look at how a child is doing over time in the broad areas on the DRDP. And again, it helps you identify where you might want to look a little bit closer. So in order to do that, you would use the detailed child report. So you would use the child report to identify the areas you want to look at a little bit closer, and you would then produce a detailed child report. So let's take a look at the detailed child report. So the child report was our one-page report, right? Unless you're doing a progress version, then it might be a few pages long, depending on how many assessments you include. Those reports are available in both systems. The second level of report that we provide in DR Access reports is the detailed child report. Now, this is a measure level report. It provides all of the individual measure ratings within each domain. So if, for example, on the child report, you identify, say, language as a domain where Angeline, where her domain rating looked a little bit lower than the others, you might go then to the detailed child report and pull up that domain and take a look at the individual measure ratings within that domain and do some planning around individual measures, some specific planning. Now let me zoom in on the next slide a little bit because I know it's hard to see what's actually on the screen there. So at the top, what you have are those little abbreviations for where Angeline is rated on each measure. And then you get those ratings relative to her overall domain rating. So you can identify which measures are low for Angeline and which measures where that are strengths for her or where she's overall doing well. On the bottom of the page, we've provided text directly from the instrument for each measure. So it provides the language for the current level of mastery as well as the next developmental level that you would be working on with her over the next 6 months. Okay. Any other questions come in yet about the reports? Okay, we're good. Just to pause for a minute. Okay. The goal of producing these reports is that this information should be helping to inform your IFSP or IEP writing, including present levels. It will help you plan priority learning targets, set long-term goals on the skills and areas that you want to focus on with this particular child. It's also a great tool for collaborating and talking and sharing with your colleagues, especially in inclusive settings. You can identify early learning foundations that go with the measures that you have identified and use those additional resources to plan and write those IEP goals. So I realize we've just given you a very, very brief introduction to reports. We do a much broader training typically that lasts about 90 minutes to dive into each one of these reports and discuss each element. And so, you know, we're always happy to provide more information. But with this limited amount of time, we really wanted to give you a glimpse into just 2 of the resources that are available. There are other reports available on both systems. For example, on DR Access reports, we offer peer reference reports. On DRDP Online, they provide a classroom report. So there are other options available as well. So I really, more than anything, encourage you to explore these 2 online reporting systems. They are a fantastic resource. So what we've provided for you on the screen are links directly to the systems, support materials that are available that go with those systems, and then also some information specifically on how to reach our support team here. And honestly, we're happy to help anyone, not just special education teachers and providers. If you have a question, we want to help navigate you to the right place.
Elizabeth, before we go to the evaluation, I did send you the other presentation. Maybe we can stop share and put up that one, and I think there's some information there to share as well.
Okay. So just one moment.
So we do hope that you'll check out the reports. As we talked about earlier, we'll have our training on it in the spring, but you can all get an account now and go in and enter some data, import some data, play around, look at the reports, begin to see how they might be useful. For sure, we'd all like you to go and create an account. You'll be ahead for the spring. And we hope that you'll share these reports with your families and with your partners. So if there's a report that General Ed has, then share it with Special Ed, or Head Start has, and Head Start, Special Ed, you have a report, share it with your team as well. All right, this is what I started to say before and was quite confused. So we do hope that you are using the DRDP, as Elizabeth said, to make instructional decisions. And we have a few here that we went over in the report section. The DRDP can also be used to track child outcomes anywhere from the local level to the state level and inform policy. So all of that data that you submit, we have. So we can look at child outcomes and see if you have an initiative in place, we can look at the child outcomes and see if it had an impact. So the primary purpose is for you to get benefit from ongoing, authentic, naturalistic assessment. There is another purpose, which is on the next slide. And that's that every state is required to submit information on child outcomes and report child progress to the Office of Special Education Programs. And this is in law. This is in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And as many of you know, I'm sure that we have been using the DRDP to meet this requirement since 2007. All right, that's great. Next slide. This is just a reminder, since I think we have a lot of skilled users already, that the DRDP is a formative assessment. You can take observations ongoing throughout the year. So those ratings are based on observations of children over time. It provides information about a child's knowledge and skills and behavior in naturally occurring, typical, everyday settings and activities. And it incorporates the perspectives of those who know the child well. So Maya, you had asked about documentation. You can also divide and conquer and have other partners like families help you collect that, and then have a central place where you keep all of that. Those of you who have taken our training, remember that we describe the process of using the instrument in 3 steps. First, collecting documentation over time, then pulling all that together and rating the measures, and then finally doing a check that you have everything and submitting your data to your SELPA. Most of you are using an MIS system, such as SACE, some of you use CIRUS systems, and some of you may be entering directly into Dear Access reports. All right. And the goal always of the assessment is to identify a child's level of mastery in key developmental and pre-academic areas. So here's our definition of mastery. So as you're observing, keep these in mind. Does the child demonstrate this skill consistently over time and in different situations or settings? And here we see little Harper doing 3 different activities. Sometimes she uses her right hand, sometimes she uses her left hand. We have 3 different situations, so when we go and look at her fine motor skills in the DRDP, we have a lot of information. All right, please keep in mind that all children should be allowed consideration for the unique ways in which they demonstrate mastery. Listed here are some of the components, actually, of universal design and individualization that are baked into the instrument that we see as allowing the assessment of all children. So children can use any language, a combination of language. They can use gestures, whatever communication system they are using is acceptable. You'll notice in the instrument we never say a child says, we always phrase it as a child communicates. So we want you to be really open to all those different ways that a child can move around, can meet the definition of mastery, can communicate. For those who need a little more individualizations, we have a system of adaptations. And you need to make sure when you're assessing that those are in place and are in place every day. We also have a list of examples as you know, in each measure. Please don't get hung up on those examples. Those are only some of the ways a child might demonstrate mastery. It's really to give you illustrations of those descriptors so you know what you're looking for. Many of the things that you will see that count as mastery will never appear on that list of examples. All right, adaptations. Here's our definition. Changes or modifications to the environment, activities, or materials, and or recognition of a skill consistently demonstrated in a unique way. Ultimately, the goal of adaptations is to make sure that we are measuring a child's ability rather than disability. Now, there are countless adaptations. Some of them you may be making yourself, some are high-tech, some are low-tech. So rather than have you list everything, we've grouped them into 7 categories. These are the categories, and we hope that you can look through these and get some ideas. We did have a module in our training from last year using the DRDP on adaptations where we gave you many examples of these. And if you want more ideas, we have a Pinterest page. So if you go to pinterest.com/DRAccess, we have tons of adaptations ideas. Many of them are inexpensive and simple to make. So go have some fun, go visit Pinterest. We have had some questions today about the training, so here's a slide with that information, so that should be in your PowerPoint. The first course is available now for new folks. The second course, using reports, in the spring. If you have any questions, you can call or email us, and that information will be in your PowerPoint. If you took the course last year, we thank you. We had over 7,000 special educators who took the course, and about 93% of you successfully completed it. So thank you very much for your attention in doing that. And once again, we give you not only our contact information, but our Pinterest site and our Twitter feed. Other questions? Right. I think we have an evaluation survey, huh?
We do. We do. I'm also happy to talk about submitting data. We didn't have is that okay? Okay, we didn't have as much interest in that topic at the beginning, but there were a few folks. So I'm happy to just briefly share a little bit of information about submitting data. It might spark some more questions. Okay. Okay, great. I really only have one slide around submitting data, but it is a complex situation. We recognize, similar to even the question we got earlier, like what applies to me in special ed versus gen ed, and so we thought if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. But generally speaking, especially for a child that is being served in an inclusive setting, you know, special education service providers and general education teachers are completing the DRDP assessment. Our goal, as Patty spoke about much earlier around collaborative assessment, is that those two folks would communicate about that assessment. Even if we're on different timelines, that they would share their most recent assessment or most recent results and use that as a starting point for both the conversation as well as refreshing the ratings. And so that's how we see the connection there at the top between the two providers, the two teachers, working together to complete that assessment. But then the systems start to diverge a bit because there are different reporting requirements for the two paths. So on the special education side, as we spoke about briefly under the using reports section, special education providers are required to put their data into the system that their SELPA, their local area, uses. There's many different systems that are used out there, SACE, Cyrus systems, lots of them on the special education side. And that's what's required because that's the requirements for special education. And then the data would then go out to reports, DR Access reports, to get reports. And that's the path for special education. Now, on the general education side, there's a similar reporting process in place. That data needs to be input into whatever system the local area is using. Some systems we're aware of are Child Plus, Learning Genie. We're less familiar with the gen ed side, but those are the systems that are being used on the general education side. And then that data moves into DRDP Online, where reports are produced. But what we tried to cover and talk about a bit today was which reports are the same that you can use collaboratively that are coming out of both systems, but also we're not discouraging using the reports that are even different in some of our systems. But the goal is to collaborate throughout the process, completing the assessment as well as using the results, talking about it, communicating about it. So does this bring up any specific questions about systems that maybe you all are struggling with locally? Do you have any burning questions about where data is supposed to be going or what it's being used for, that sort of thing? Because we wanted to sort of make ourselves available knowing that this is one of the most complicated parts, I think, of the assessment is where the data should be.
So Elizabeth, we have a question from Maria. Who has access to reports at the district level?
So it depends. Anyone on the special, and Maria, are you in special education? I can't remember. I feel like you asked a question earlier, and I should remember that. But if you can type in the chat box and let us know which side you're working on. That would be helpful. But in DR Access reports, for example, we have 3 levels of account access. We have teachers, we have a teacher level account, a district level account, and a SELPA administrator level account. So anyone can sign up and get an account and then request that access. So Maria, it sounds like you are at the district level. If you are using DR Access reports to generate reports, and all of the assessors within your district are using them as well, you can absolutely have a district level account and be able to view that data and view their reports. You can also produce group reports, which we didn't talk about specifically today, but we have available through our system. I believe that those same levels of access are also available through DRDP online for those of you in general education. I can't guarantee that, but I believe those accounts are available as well. So good question, Maria. So I am going to just very quickly switch to the last slide with our with both the survey information as well as all of the resource information that we shared earlier. So you can have that again, and that has the exact email address that you would reach out to request that district account. So you'll see that there, email reports@draccess.org. If it's special education, through DR Access reports, you would just send us an email and we would work with you to get that access set up.
Yep. Okay, we have one more question.
Yep, I can't say it.
All right, so the question is, when, how, where the new providers can get training and how to best sign up for this. Recently hired and need basic training. Easier than boot camp, but yes, basic training. You can go to draccesslearn.org. Maybe Debbie, you can type that into the chat. That's our learning center, and you create an account. And once you create an account, you'll see the course using the DRDP 2015 for special education. It's a series of modules. It takes a couple of hours. You don't have to complete it in one sitting. We do suggest you complete the module you're in before you get up and walk away from the computer. And then you can go back and you will take the demonstration of rating skills, which is watching a video and rating a measure of a very cute child. You will have a couple of practice opportunities, and then you'll have 3 opportunities again in that part of the course. It will go over adaptations, the basic requirements for special education, the 3 steps to using the instrument. All of that will be one module at a time. So go ahead in at any time. The system is open, and register for the course. And if you have any questions getting started, call us or email us. We'll help you through it.
Easy, free.
Easy peasy, free, right?
Can admins take the course?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Anyone can take the course, actually.
Great.
Go and create an account. Yep. You do need to know your SELPA. We'll caution you. Some people didn't know their SELPA last year, so hopefully you'll know that going in.
Might have to phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Yeah. In the classroom next door, right? To make sure they're in the same SELPA. Right.
Well, thank you so much for the wealth of information you provided, Debbie, Elizabeth, and Patty. We will be sending out the recording and evaluation along with the resources that were presented during the webinar today. I encourage you to continue uploading students at no cost throughout the state at www.citizenvision.org. And one more resource you might be interested in, the team mentioned that Universal Design Learning is component built with the DR Access, and we also have learning foundations that are color-coded to match the UDL principles. So if you'd like that, just shoot the team or myself, Jafer, or Kristen Brooks, request, and we'll send that resource out. So we want to thank everyone for attending, and we look forward to working with everyone in the future. Have a great evening, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
hopefully everybody was able to hear Kevin's send-off message, and thanks to everyone. That again, we'll be sending out the recordings. Please feel free to visit our website, sipinclusion.org, for more events. And before we completely sign off, just were there any more questions or anything for the team?
Yeah, we'll hang here for, you know, a few more minutes. So any folks who didn't get their question answered, feel free to type in the chat box, and we'll stay here for a while.
And we want to remind people to go to the evaluations link. I'm going to let Elizabeth do that.
And I think that was probably part of what Kevin mentioned, and we just couldn't quite hear it. And I think, Kristen, if we're right, you'll send it out also after.
Yes, you'll get a copy of the recording as well as the link for the survey. And please feel free to complete the survey, send that right back to us. We'll be checking those. We really thrive on that feedback. And thank you all so much for your patience with the tech issues during the webinar. Thank you so much for hanging in there. And we look forward to the next one. And again, huge thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a participant who's wondering about a certificate for the course today.
Yeah, we don't have certificates for the webinars. However, if you need to show your administration that you participated in some professional development opportunities, please use the confirmed registration, as well as you can use the follow-up email that shows that you have the recording and that you participated. And any other way we can, you know, help you, but just you will have those two documents that you could share.
Great, and Elizabeth, I see your question. Would love it if you could tell me again which reports would be best to view as the Early Head Start agency. So I would say in general, all of the reports are beneficial, but through DRDP Online, you will have access to the child report as well as the group reports. And so I encourage you to access DRDP Online so that you can generate those specific reports. Did you want to add anything to that, Patty? Okay.
All right, anything more from anyone as we close out the day? No? All right, well, thank you again so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening, and we will see each other soon.
Thank you so much.